Hey guys, Patoman 945 here. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm gonna be doing another top 10 list, which I have not done for a while because I made the massive anime ranking, uh, but even the Metallica ranking was almost a month ago, so it's been a while since I just made a good old-fashioned top 10 video. Um, and I've had this list made for a while now. I just did not make it. Um, and that is a list of my top 10 favorite composers. Um, so you are going to in this video probably hear a lot of the same things said about many of the composers because every single composer on this list makes absolutely fantastic music, and as such this video is not really going to be like specific aspects of the composer's music because I do not know nearly enough about music theory to make any sort of competent video about that stuff. In fact, I know very, very little when it comes to music theory. So me talking about music on this channel is always a take it with a grain of salt if you are really into music theory and the like. And there is a particular point I happen to make that either doesn't make any sense or you don't agree with it, then just, I always say that for my opinions on this channel, but I think when it comes to music, it warrants an extra warning due to the fact that I just don't really know that much about music theory in general, but I do love talking about it. So, anyway, with all that blabbing done, to actually get to the list itself, and number 10, um, is Kevin Penkin, and I'm going to be actually talking about the works that they did mostly, as like my way of explaining why I love these composers so much. Um and now that I'm looking at this, I am actually going to make a quick change because I have not actually looked over this um list in a few weeks, and so I just wanted to make that quick change. Um, so Kevin Penkin has done a lot of my favorite anime OSTs. Um, Most notably for me, he did the soundtrack to Made in Abyss and part of the soundtrack to Apothecary Diaries. I believe a few other anime OSTs I really like that some of which I am just not quite remembering right now. Um and yeah, Kevin Penkin's work is fucking incredible. The way that he seems to bring the world of Maiden of Death alive is just incredible, and I think that the music in Maiden of Death is something that really adds um to the incredible world building in that show. And with Apothecary Diaries, the uh he did a lot of the like much more I mean, it's all mostly instrumental music, but he did a lot more of the kind of ground music, so to speak. Like the music that kind of plays when not something specific is going on, like, just general scene transitions of a party going on in the rear palace or people walking through the pleasure district or something like that. And the way that the music just adds to the vibes of Apothecary Diaries is just absolutely immaculate. Um, at number nine is Yoshihisa Hirano, and Yoshihisa Hirano is the composer for um I'm sure a lot of anime OSTs I'm just not remembering at the moment, but most significant to me is both Death Note and Hunter x Hunter. And when I compare the soundtracks of these two works, it is incredible to me like the diversity that Yoshihisa Hirano was able to achieve, especially because there are certain parts of Hunter x Hunter and Death Note soundtrack that are very similar in terms of the uh, dark, very intense choral um, tracks that just sound so epic and evil and in scale and such. Like everything to do with the score of the Chimera Ants was just like very dark in scale. Not quite to the like um uh you say exaggerated evil sound of Death Note, but like I think the way that these two different sounds can be achieved, these two sounds can be very similar, like have similar aspects in the soundtracks, and yet sound so familiar, and yet also in Hunter x Hunter there can be some of literally the happiest fucking songs you've ever heard in your life with the Hunter March, um, and stuff like that. But also just like themes of mellow sadness, like Kilo or Karapika's theme. Um, and compare that with not just the insane choral tracks that like represent the evil grandeur of Kira, but also like the much, I guess, quieter tracks that demonstrate the more cat and mouse aspect of Death Note, which is kind of in the style of like um smooth rock and whatnot. The balance that Yoshihisa Hirano I think achieves with the scores that he made for both of these soundtracks is just incredible to me. Um, and number eight is Alan Silvestri. Alan Silvestri is one of many composers who uh quite frankly on this list has done a fuck ton of movies. And to be honest, it's kind of the same thing with number seven spot Michael Giacchino. So I'm gonna kind of talk about them at the same time because to be honest, they it could probably be interchangeable for me because like both of them have done Marvel movies. Uh, Michael Giacchino did Star Wars and a lot of Pixar movies, but then Alan Silvestri did like Forrest Gump and a lot of other related movies. So like there's a lot of ground that you could cover with that. Um and um basically, I guess my main point is I fucking love every single one of the movie scores that is done by these two composers, and that's why I'm kind of lumping them together. Um, there are others like that on this list, but I do think they are of a little bit of a higher quality, despite the fact that Alan Silvestri and Michael Giacchino both have done incredible work. Um, at number six, and this is the change I made. I actually switched around Michael Giacchino and number six spot, which is now Joe Hisaishi. Um, Now, Joe Hisaishi's composing is really something special because he is the composer for every single Studio Ghibli film in existence. And if there is one aspect, if probably among many, but if there is at least one singular aspect of that gets praised, I hear praise continuously in every Ghibli movie that I hear talked about. Um, Beyond the fantastic detail that and love that is put into every single goddamn frame of animation. Um, the like arguable number one thing that is the most praised that I've heard the most praised about every Ghibli movie is the incredible scores. Because Joe Hisaishi is just a goddamn genius. He knows how every single Ghibli movie should sound and how that sound can be such a brilliant complement to the incredible visuals and stories that Hayao Miyazaki and Isao Takahata and others have made in Ghibli films. Um, to kind of like compare, I guess, like they kind of do a comparison to show the breadth of it, I suppose. Um, I'll talk about like three different Ghibli movies: Howl's Moving Castle, Princess Mononoke, and The Wind Rises. Um, Howl's Moving Castle has a very grand score that sounds very imaginative and adventure filled, whereas Princess Mononoke is like this very much sort of deeper, darker type score, which really reflects the much darker tone of that movie and the kind of darker themes and atmosphere as well. And then there's like a movie like The Wind Rises or The Delivery Service, which both those movies are much more chill and they're kind of more about what I like to call just telling a person's life story. It's kind of the same thing with a movie like Porco Rosso, for example, where while they definitely have a lot of majestic moments, for the most part, it's a lot of like very sweeping soothing words that seem to complement um a lot of moments of peace. And I think that the sheer variety in doing that and the way that all of these different scores seem to perfectly complement the plot of every Ghibli movie makes Joe Hisaishi a goddamn genius. Now, and number five is Howard Shore. I'm sure Howard Shore has done a lot of fantastic movie scores, but for the purposes of this list, he's only on this list for one goddamn reason, and that's the fact that the Lord of the Rings score is my second favorite soundtrack of all time. Um, I talked a little bit about how Kevin Penkin managed to bring the world of Made in Abyss alive, and um, Howard Shore does that with Lord of the Rings on fucking steroids. Um, there is just so much incredible music that seems to characterize every single race, every single plot point, every single different area from Mordor to the Shire to Rivendell, to Minas Tirith. It seems to encompass every part of the world itself and just truly bring it alive in a way that no description from the book could do in quite the same way. Um, and yeah, that's basically Power Chart. Like I said, I'm sure he's probably done a ton of incredible other movie scores, but for the purposes of this list, just Lord of the Rings is enough to get him the number 5 spot on this list. Um, and number 4 is Hans Zimmer. Um, now he is in the same boat as Alan Silvestri and Michael Giacchino, but I mean Hans Zimmer is just on another level because he is just on another level in terms of the scores that he is able to make. Um and it's just incredible like how awesome sounding and grand and epic a lot of his scores are. Like, Interstellar feels like a fucking space epic. And The Lion King somehow feels like this grand Shakespearean epic about talking animals. And Kung Fu Panda is this incredible, like, um, fun adventure about a panda doing kung fu for goodness sake. Like the way that Hans Zimmer just pours personality and energy into every one of his scores just makes every single one an absolutely magical listening experience. Um, and number 3 is Evan Call, and um, the Violet or Evergarden soundtrack is incredible. That is super high among my anime OSTs. It is such a beautiful soundtrack. But realistically, if you watched my favorite soundtracks video, that top 10 list from a few months ago, then you would know that the main reason that Evan Call is here is because Freeren's soundtrack, which he composed, is my favorite soundtrack of all time, and it's not that close. Um, yeah. Just everything about the Freerun soundtrack being the best soundtrack of all time is why Evan Call is number 3 on this list. Now, and number 2, and I feel like one of probably the only one on this list where I feel like I can actually talk about the actual composing patterns due to the fact that it is like classical music, so to speak. Um, my favorite classical musician by far, classical music composer, whatever you want to call it, is Antonin Dvorak. Um, because he has done some other brilliant symphonies, and I really enjoy listening to his other works. However, for me, nothing compares to from the New World, his Ninth Symphony. Because the entire symphony is just an absolute musical masterpiece, and the way that Dvorak constantly reuses motifs and changes them and calls upon what seemed like one-off forgotten little melodic tangent suddenly come back to support some other harmony or become another part of the melody in itself. And just the satisfaction that you get from recognizing the different parts throughout this symphony and it being able to all be pieced together is just incredible. Um, Musical mastery at its finest. And the composer, I think, that combines all of the positive elements that we talked about in this video is number 1. By far, it is not even close, and he will never be surpassed, in my opinion, is John Williams. I made a video back in November, I think, which has been a while, so if you haven't seen it, I don't blame you. Um, after the John Williams documentary came out on Disney Plus, which was an incredible documentary, and it proved to me that John Williams, as I will repeat again here, as I said in that video, that he is a god amongst men, because um, the other guys that have done a fuck ton of music scores, John Williams has got them all. Maybe not by a significant amount because a lot of them have pretty long careers, but he's got them all. In terms of like sheer number of works done, much less number of works that are known and are extremely popular, but just sheerly the number of movies that he has done. Um, and that's not even including like when he was a conductor for the Boston Pops or when he was a jazz musician or anything like that. The sheer amount of movies that he has done may be the most that has ever been done by any film composer. I say may because I don't know for that for sure, and I never want to confirm anything that I don't actually know because that will only lead to angry YouTube comments that make fun of me and criticize me for being wrong. But I think that there is a very good chance, of which I don't know for sure, but I think there's a very good chance that the sheer amount of scores that John Williams has done for movies is probably, I think, a very good chance of like the most of any film composer that has ever lived. Um, and he's still alive, mind you. He's like, how old is John Williams? 93. He's 93 fucking years old. And he is still, well, no, I think he's retired now, but like, for I don't even want to know, like 70 years he was making the scores for movies, and every single one of them, I am sure, even the ones I've never listened to and will maybe be and will are probably from movies that are completely lost to time. I'm sure that they were all incredible and that they all brought their worlds to life, and that every single score of his probably has very different tones and contrasts. And and you know how I know this? Because I know this because of all of because all of the many popular movie scores that he has done that are so different from each other that bring these worlds alive from each other, like Jurassic Park and Star Wars and Indiana Jones, just to name three of the most well-known examples. Um, so yeah, that is why John Williams is the greatest composer of all time. And that is my list of my top 10 favorite composers. Let me know what you think. Share your own list of your favorite composers in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye bye.